Welcome to the Spark Good podcast, your weekly dose of inspiration, strategies, and stories that will ignite your passion for making a difference through your business. I'm your host, Stephanie Malon-Rufi, and together we will dive into the world of entrepreneurship and small business and explore how we can harness its power to spark good and change how we do business. I believe in the incredible potential that business can have in making a positive social impact, and I want to help you discover how you can better align your business goals with meaningful causes and contribute to a better world. Plus, you'll learn how to nurture your own well-being, change traditional rules that might be holding you back, and thrive in your role as a social business owner. All right, let's dive in. Hello. Thank you for joining me again on the Sparkcast. This is your host, Stephanie Malon-Rufi, and today I have a very special message for all of the entrepreneurs and business owners out there. Everyone who is wanting to make their business the best it can be, the most sustainable it can be, and also having a wonderful impact in our world. I want to talk to all of you and remind you to make sure you are spending time working on your business, right? We spend a lot of time in our business, but we don't always step back and do the work on our business. So I'm going to talk about what that means today. But before I do that, I just have some other key messages I want to make sure that you hear. Some reminders, if you will. First of all, remember you're the leader. You're the leader of your business. And in that role, one of the things is you're responsible for setting the goals for the business, for that chart of work, for setting out kind of what's the grand plan here and thinking about the future. This isn't to say you can't have input and team members who can contribute to that, but ultimately it's you, right? So you need to make sure you're setting those goals, thinking about the future. The other thing is you're responsible for helping to spot those problems and figuring out solutions for them, right? Whether that solution involves you, whether there are pieces of the solution that you can delegate, but one of your responsibilities really is helping to spot those and find solutions. Also, you're the top person, right, in your business who's probably genuinely motivated to grow the business. Now, if you have other people working with you, they might also have a, skin in the game and a stake in the business growth. But if you're the entrepreneur and you started your business, you probably have the most invested in it, right? So remembering that, you need to remember these things, and it means that you need to have at least some of your focus on planning, strategizing, and building the best, most sustainable business that you want to have. So a reminder also is that every minute you're spending on the tasks that could be delegated, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is a minute that you're not planning, strategizing, or building the best business. So just a few things that I want you to keep in mind to understand how important it is that you, as the business owner, as the leader, there's work that only you can do and that you need to do if you want to continue to, maybe you want to continue, things are great, and you want to continue making sure things go great. Maybe there's something new you want to try. Maybe you do want to get bigger, right? That all sits with you. So now I do want to know or recognize that we cannot necessarily delegate everything that's happening right now. And I also, when you hear the word delegate, I think we often think of that's going to cost money because I need to hire a person. And very often it does. But you have to also keep in mind delegating could also mean better use of technology, creation of systems, right? Ways that you can make certain activities more automatic and that require less of your time. That can also be a way to delegate. So I want you to keep that in mind, because a lot of times, especially if you're still a solopreneur, maybe you contract for a few services with people, but it's mostly you. A lot of times people might say, I can't delegate it. I don't have enough money. I can't do this, and then just kind of end that conversation. And I just want to encourage you to think a little more creatively and a little more broadly when you think about delegating. And part of it might be when you think about some of the work that you're doing, maybe there's some things you don't need to be doing right now until you can delegate. Okay. Going a little off topic, that actually could be a whole episode in itself, and maybe it will soon. But today, I really want you to think about how you are spending your time, whether you are doing some of that important work, right? The strategizing, the planning. Those are components of working on your business. So let's talk about what is this working on your business versus in your business, right? So let's start with in your business, because we're all working in our business. And that can be defined as, handling day-to-day operations, tasks required to keep your business running smoothly. While these tasks are crucial, they often might involve routine, operational, and immediate activities. Okay, so I'm going to give you some concrete examples. So client work, right? Delivering your services or products, order fulfillment, for example. So what are people paying for? What are you delivering? It's important for sure, but that's the work in your business. Customer service, right? Things don't always maybe go as planned. People have questions. People are confused. There might be, a reason that someone's reaching out that that it's a client of yours or a customer. So servicing them, that's also working in your business. Managing inventory, right? Ordering, tracking, restocking, all of those things. Administrative tasks, paperwork, record keeping, invoicing, payroll, bookkeeping. So all those administrative tasks are working in your business. Managing your employees and your team, overseeing maybe day-to-day tasks that they're doing, delegating, right? That's in your business. Implementing your marketing. Now, some people think marketing's about posting on social media. It's actually much bigger than that. And marketing strategy and decision making actually is working on your business. But implementing those decisions that you've made about your strategy, implementing that marketing, that is in your business. So executing on those promotional campaigns, sending those emails, creating those social media posts, perhaps advertising, developing content, recording podcasts, right? Those are all implementing your marketing. Partnerships, managing partnerships, ongoing, right? Partnerships, key relationships, could even be vendors that you work with. So just the ongoing relationship management, that's also in your business. Anything also that's routine maintenance that you might have to do, right? It might be for your equipment, or if you have a vehicle, or there's a physical space and there's routine tasks that need to happen to maintain them. Routine communications. Perhaps, there's customers and employees, and there's ways that you communicate with them on a somewhat regular basis. So routine. So again, this is in your business. And another big one in your business, putting out fires. Do you ever have fires that need to get put out? It's rare that I know a business owner or entrepreneur who has not had that experience. And again, depending on the type of business, you could have more fires than not. But again, that all relates to that day-to-day operations, and it's all in your business. So this is not a completely exhaustive list, but I tried to select categories that might relate most to you, but hopefully you kind of get a sense of, okay, I can see of my work what's in my business. Now let's transition to on your business. So working on your business involves tasks that focus on the strategic, long-term, big picture aspects of your work. These tasks are aimed at developing and growing your business rather than just managing day-to-day operations. Okay, so hopefully you can see that contrast. So what are examples of working on your business? Well, one, business planning, right? Whether you have a full out business plan, you might have what's considered a canvas, a one pager, whatever it is, it's up to you to create that and maintain it. Then there's annual planning that needs to happen and goal setting for the business, checking in with your mission, vision, and values, right? All of that is on your business. Okay, then marketing strategy, what I mentioned to before, this is where you're really going to develop your strategies for marketing. Is social media a strategy that makes sense for you? Okay, it doesn't make sense for everyone. And what social media platform makes sense for you? Okay, so making that decision and taking the time to really think about it and think of your overall strategy and direction of your business is how you're going to develop that marketing strategy. And then implementing it again, that's working in your business. There might be market research involved. That might happen if you're bringing something new to the market or you want to tweak or change something that you offer. And sometimes doing some market research is super helpful. Financial management. So we talked about sort of bookkeeping, invoicing. That's very day-to-day. Financial management, that's creating and managing the budgets, right? Our budgets that should align with goals. Doing financial forecasting and projections. Analyzing financials, right? Historical financials, because those can help make some decisions and some changes. Strategic partnerships. So this is where you're stepping back and thinking, wow, what are some partnerships that really are going to help my business and be strategic for me? So researching and developing those, that's working on your business. Sales strategy. So this, which dovetails with your marketing strategy, right? I think we know that your marketing strategy works very closely with your sales strategy, but it's sales strategy very specifically about what channels are you selling? What are your pricing strategies? How are you formulating your pricing? And what are other sales tactics to use to target your audience? Okay, 2 more on this list, but I hope you're getting the whole idea, the bigger picture of and seeing where the differences are. The last 2 is 1, legal and regulatory compliance. Super important, especially in certain types of businesses. So if there is a lot of industry regulation, or sometimes a lot of that is often government regulation or insurance, insurance is a big piece of what you need to run your business. So you need to not only make sure you're compliant, but you have to stay up to date on that information. So there's some time that you need to spend, right? It could be reading. It could be maybe you belong to an association that you actually need to actively attend their events and learn and keep up to date on those topics. And then the last one is information technology infrastructure, right? So, and this ties into that delegating. Oh, I need to figure out a better way to do this. Is there a piece of technology that can help me? Researching that, figuring out what the solution is, deciding how you're going to implement this solution. That work starts when you're taking time to work on your business. All right. I hope that this has given you some ideas. And as I always say, I've been talking about these topics for years, but I still love to talk about them. I still get excited thinking about it. When I hear people talk about it, I kind of get re-energized, right? Like, okay, that's right. I need to really carve out more time to do some of this work. So the first thing I would say to ask yourself as you're listening is, do you know for yourself and for your business which actions are in versus on? Okay, maybe you need to start that for yourself and clarify. Maybe you need to sit down and just brain dump your 2 lists. The next thing I want you to do is really think about how much time and energy you spend on these 2 different lists. So do a little bit of a self-audit with yourself. You don't need to be fancy, but just kind of check in with yourself and also be honest. Because I know a lot of times with clients I work with, boy, you can be so well-meaning that you want to do these things and you know they're important, but in actuality, they're just not happening. So first of all, just know where you're starting from. So be honest with yourself. But also know that you can make room and you can do these things. All right. So once you determine when you're going to be able to do that work, and there's lots of ways to sort of implement doing that work, and I'm not going to get into all of them right now. Although I will say, as we come up to the end of the year, it's such a great time to check in with yourself and like, oh, okay, I need to create more time and allow more space for some of these things to happen. And as we end a year and start a new one is often a great time to make that shift. And if you want a little bit of help with this, I'm going to invite you to join me to do annual strategic planning, which, let me tell you, that's going to fall into the working on your business category. So if you want to have a really easy win that and a bit of accountability, right? Then maybe you want to sign up. So let me tell you really quickly about it. If you're listening to this in real time, Friday, December 8th, 2023, I'm going to have a live virtual workshop. And we're going to do annual strategic planning for your business. So when you sign up, there's actually a little bit of pre-work that I have available. I have a couple of videos and a few exercises for you to do before the 8th. Spoiler, if you don't do it before the 8th, it's okay. They will still be there for you to do sometime. But there is, there's some things that you need to think through, some information that's helpful to gather as you're then preparing for the next year. We're going to have a live workshop. I have a workbook that's going to go with it. And then, and when I say workshop, like we're going to be doing some of the work. You're going to be filling out some of that. Okay. It's not just listening and nodding your head. You can actually do some of this work. And then I will have a replay of the workshop, I think for about a month afterwards. So again, if you can't join me live on the 8th, you will be able to have the replay. You will be able to take that recording, block off an afternoon for yourself and do that work and do that strategic annual planning. So there's a link in the show notes. You can learn more and get signed up. But if you, as I said, if you want easy win, some accountability, this is a great way to have it as we end 2023 and you get ready for the new year. All right. I will sign off for now. I hope you spend some time working on your business, not just in your business. And I really hope to see you on Friday, December 8th. Take care. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Spark Good podcast. If you haven't yet, please subscribe or follow to the podcast and leave a rating and review so more people can listen and find us. Also, let's connect. You can head over to my website at www.sparkgood.net where you can subscribe to my mail list and set up a time for us to have a virtual coffee chat. Thank you for joining.